If you would have told me that I was going to finish in 6th place at this year's CrossFit Games a month before they started, I think I would have been pretty heartbroken.
It's funny because the expectations, in my opinion, haven't really changed for Noah. It's similar to last year where it's kind of podium or bust. Now more than ever, the podium is within his reach. Finishing his best ever, just a few points shy last year in 4th. And really he's accomplished everything else there is to accomplish in the sport. Besides that, he's won the Open, he's won his regionals 4 times, and all that's left for him to do is move up 1 spot and nab himself a CrossFit Games medal and accomplish one of the dreams that I know he set out for himself many years ago.
But for many reasons, which I'll get into shortly, I think after this year's games, my heart was more full than ever. Here's a quick recap of all the events of the 2018 CrossFit Games and how I was feeling before, during, and after. Prior to the games, I would say this is honestly the most prepared that I've ever felt before going to any CrossFit Games in terms of preparation throughout the season, my body being healthy, my mind being sound and positive, and just ready to go, and wanting to, at the very least, get on the podium. As many of you know at this point, that wasn't the case. The games started off on a pretty tough foot. The first event was a crit, as they call it in the cycling world. We had a 10-lap bike race. It was, I think, 0.8 miles per lap, so it came out to just under 8 miles in total. I felt pretty prepared for that. I had gotten on a road bike almost a dozen times leading up to the games, clipped in, clipped out, felt really comfortable with that. Got some good endurance there. Got to train with Travis, who's really good at biking.
Go, Mike. Clip in, clip. Whoa, that was easy. Ready? Let's begin.
I was hoping to finish somewhere in the top half of the pack, and I thought that that was a very doable expectation to start off the games. 3, 2, 1, go. We take off, and I fell somewhere right in the top 10 to 15, and I had kind of settled in there for the first 3 or 4 laps. Just after that, around lap 5, my pedal started to feel a little bit loose on my right foot, and I thought perhaps that the clip had gotten loose and that my foot was just kind of unclipping and wobbling around on the clip. And so in my mind, I just processed that. I was like, all right, this is not good, but it's not terrible. Just keep going. And if you need to clip back in, just clip back in and deal with it. After, I think, almost another 2 full laps, my foot came out of the clip again. And when I looked down to clip back in, my pedal was not on the bike. Instead, it was attached to my foot. Without panicking, just in a moment, I thought, all right, I need a new bike ASAP. And I had about a quarter of a lap to go before I would get to the next bike pit. So my right foot dangling out to the side, using only my left foot, I pedaled around the corner.
In the top left, and his pedal just pops off on his right foot, and then finds a way to get himself another bike.
Came up to the bike pit and was yelling amongst the crowd, I need a new bike, I need a new bike.
Ohlsen here at the finish line just had to get a new bike.
So I got off my bike, handed it to one of the pit stop guys. My pedal was stuck on my foot still, and I bent down and tried to get it off with my hand and couldn't. So I slammed my foot into the ground at an angle. The pedal comes flying off.
As he gets himself to the maintenance station, but he loses valuable time. He had to kick that old pedal off and then re-clip into that bike and get himself going.
I hop on the new bike, and I don't know how much time had passed since the pedal had come off, but a ton of people had passed me, and I dropped back from probably about 15th to what ended up being somewhere in the 30s. There's not enough time to process in the middle of the events or be disappointed. You're still in go mode, so I just tried to catch up as much as I could and just set little mini goals. And I saw somebody ahead of me, like way ahead, and I thought, all right, my first goal is I'm just gonna catch that guy. And so I had a couple sprints, and I finally caught that guy, and I caught a couple other people and was just slowly picking people off. And I ended up coming back and finishing in 30th place. Definitely not the way I wanted to start the games.
Ohlsen is a guy that every year has had that one big mistake that has just kept him off the podium. And this one, if it turns out to be the difference between a podium spot and a finish maybe inside the top 10 for Noah Ohlsen, beyond his control, just some mechanical problems. Ohlsen will have to find a way to overcome that.
Although I knew that there wasn't really anything that they were going to be able to do because of the equipment malfunction, I decided to ask anyways. I ran into Dave right after the event finished and I said, I don't know if you heard or saw, but my pedal came off in the middle of the event. Do you guys think that there's anything you'll be able to do to help kind of compensate me for the mishap there? And he said he didn't think that they would be able to, but they would look into it. And in my mind, I was like, all right, there's nothing else I can do at this point. I just need to put it behind me and move on. So I did the best that I could to do that. Going into the second event, it was one that I was actually really looking forward to. 30 muscle-ups for time is probably one of my favorite benchmark workouts in the world. I've done it a handful of times, and every single time I finished under 2 minutes.
I want to see if he's going to go unbroken here.
It kind of reminded me of regionals this year, where I started day one off in 9th place, and on day 2 knew that I'd have to have a couple good workouts to get myself back into a qualifying spot. I was kind of fired up and excited that I had this opportunity to make a comeback and be tough in the face of adversity. So I tried to get myself back in the same mindset after event 1 at the games, going into event 2 being the 30 muscle-ups for time. The event starts.
Second and final heat of event number 2.
I feel super smooth on the rings. I'm cranking them out. I'm in my rhythm, flowing through it. I think I get to 15. I know I'm somewhere in the lead.
As Noah Ohlsen opens up the early lead.
Around then, I get my first no rep. Nothing had changed in terms of my movement, at least as far as I could tell.
He's got to be careful to decide where he's going to break up. I've seen him before go 18 and 12. We're going to see if he's going to do the same thing here.
But I get a no rep and I have to make a decision on the spot. All right, do I do the 20 reps unbroken that I had planned to do and come down with the no rep, so I would only be at a count of 19? Or do I do one extra rep to make up for the no rep, get myself to the 20 mark in the judge's eyes, but actually have done 21 muscle-ups? I decide I'm going to keep going. It's only one extra. Do a couple more, and then on rep 18, another no rep.
Right on your screen, right next to Noah Ohlsen, is right now in the lead with 18, now 19 repetitions down.
And at this point, I have no idea why the judge says up, then down. I'm not sure what that means. I kind of shake my head, keep going. I get to 20, which is actually 22 reps. I come down a little bit flustered, but still in the mix. I chalk my hands up real quick, hop back up, thinking, all right, I still got this. I've got 10 more. I can do those unbroken and finish. Get about halfway, get another no rep, and same thing, decided, all right, I'm just going to try to push through. It's my last set. I lock out my 29th rep and go for my 30th one and fail. And I hang onto the rings and try to do my 30th rep one more time without coming down, fail again. I come down, chalk up, I've got one more rep, I shake my arms out one more time to make sure that I don't fail that rep again, jump up, finish the last rep, sprint across the finish line. Ended up taking 11th place on that one. I did 33 muscle-ups as opposed to the 30. It's on me. I don't want to make excuses and say that the no rep affected my placement at the games at all, the no reps, but again, just a little bit frustrating when I feel like I really needed a boost to get myself out of the hole from event 1. I've learned throughout my CrossFit career that you need to be able to put bad events behind you and just move on. If you dwell on them, it's not gonna do anything for you. Event 3 was the CrossFit Total. In the past, it would be something that I would be really nervous about. Strength was always a big deficit for me. This year, I actually felt more prepared than ever. I had done a decent amount of strength work. My body felt really healthy and strong. Even if I wasn't gonna win the event, I knew that I was gonna be able to hit big numbers for myself, and that was all I could do at that point. Ended up actually finally having a good event and kind of exceeding my expectations. Started off with a back squat. I finished with a 440 easily. Had I had one more lift, I probably would have gone for a PR. My best back squat ever is 450, and I feel like I could have at least hit 460 that day. Moved on to the strict press. That was one lift that everybody was very unsure about. It's not something that is posted a lot on Instagram. It's kind of a boring lift to watch, and that statistic is not one that many people know. I knew I was capable of somewhere in the low twos, like a 215 I think was my PR previously to that. I ended up hitting 215.
As he continues to widen his lead, Noah Ohlsen hits 215.
Looked around, almost nobody else had hit a press heavier than that. I didn't think I had 225 in me. 220 was probably where I was gonna cap it, and I decided, all right, do I wanna try to tie Cole and earn myself a couple extra pounds to go toward my total? Or do I wanna go for 225, but potentially miss it and lose those 10 pounds? Kind of played it safe, went in the middle, 220.
At 220 pounds.
Watch the way he does wide stance.
Ended up getting that, which was a 5-pound PR for me. So I was pretty excited. That was one of the heavier lifts of the press. And moving on to the deadlift.
And now it's on to the deadlift.
I had previously hit 510, probably 6 months prior. So I wanted to be able to hit a little bit more than that. I hit 500 easier than I've ever hit 405 in my life.
Oh, but event number 1, he finished 35th, so nearly identical as Noah Ohlsen hits 500 pounds.
I put 530 on the bar and stood that up relatively easy as well. Wasn't absolutely perfect, but definitely had a few more pounds in the tank. So ended up finishing that event 10 pounds under my back squat PR, 5 pounds over my strict press PR, and I think that was 20 pounds over my deadlift PR. That was finally a little bit of a boost. I was fired up after that one, had some good energy in me, and the final event of the night was the marathon row. That one I feel really neutral about. I felt neutral about it in the moment, and I still kind of do. I didn't know what to expect. Long, cyclical events, especially on the rower, are not necessarily my forte, but we had done a decent amount of practice with it throughout the season, so I wanted to just pick a pace and try to hold that the whole time. I didn't know what to expect. I don't think I've ever done 3 hours of anything at once. And the way I describe that event to people that ask how miserable it was just kind of waves of being uncomfortable. You would settle into a pace for a while and be fine, and then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, your pace would fall way off, or a certain muscle was burning way more than it was a second ago. And so it was just kind of in and out the whole time. And I finished that in 24th, which is not amazing, but also not terrible. And again, I just felt really neutral about it. I knew it wasn't going to be one where I was going to earn myself a ton of points. So to fall somewhere right in the middle, I was like, all right, it is what it is. I just got to move on. Day 1 did not go the way I wanted it to, but there's still plenty more to go.